Welcome back to the In the Blues Tone podcast. My name's Shane. We've got a whole bunch of really great topics to cover today, and as always, I'll leave some information and time codes in the description below. Now, if you're new to the podcast, you can also find it on iTunes, and you can also find it at inthebluespodcast.com, and you can listen for free from there as well. There's no sign up required, just hit play and you're good to go. So believe it or not, today the podcast has a sponsor, and it's the same sponsor I had 2 years ago on one other video. So that's it. I've only had 2 sponsored plugs, but it's a service I've been using for 5 years and that I was paying for long before I even got the sponsorship opportunity to also host my own album. So DistroKid is a really great service that I've been using for a long time, and it's a really easy way to sort of take the headache out of selling your music online. So if you're a musician and you don't use DistroKid, or you don't have your music on iTunes, Spotify, or Pandora service, or Amazon, or any of these other services, DistroKid will take care of that for you. If you're a cover band and you want to upload your songs, they'll take care of all the royalty side of it for you as well. It's a really great service. One of the reasons I like to use it is it's very simple to get everything done properly. If you've got your album on a CD or just WAV format sitting on your computer, you can upload that directly to the website and it will encode it and share it through all different platforms for you. You don't have to worry about it. You get to also choose which platforms you want your music to be available on and which ones you don't want it to be available on as well. So if you don't like one service, you can just unselect them from the list and you'll be good to go. One of the great things about the service, you can upload a single song or any number of songs in an album, and that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. I did a tribute to JJ Cale album a while back, and I'm pretty much stuck on about 6 songs, and there's no minimum, so I can upload a 6-song kind of EP. No problems there at all. They'll take care of the royalties for the JJ Cale record company, which I think is really cool. It takes the stress out of knowing I'm not doing anything wrong. They've actually added some new features, one of which is hyperfollow, which is cool. If you've got an album that's going to be basically going live to a lot of different shops, it will give you a page that will say, hey, you can click and find it here and here and here once it goes live. How great is that? It really takes the headache out of being able to just having to send links to everybody. You can send one dedicated page to people, then they can find your music wherever you like. I think that's really great. You can now add credits to the music as well, which is something you couldn't do before. So you can list your bass player, drummer, all that kind of stuff. Another cool thing about DistroKid is it can take care of the revenue split. Say you collaborate with somebody, all you have to do is punch in their email address to the service and they'll do all the payments. It takes the headache out of having to get money across to people via PayPal or any other method. DistroKid can do that, and you can add unlimited amounts of collaborators to any project or song or album. And lastly, maybe the coolest feature that they've added as well is synced lyrics. So you can now send your music to Instagram or Apple Music, and if you've ever been on an Instagram story where lyrics have scrolled, you'll see that on your song, and your song will be part of that selection of audio, which will get you a new audience altogether. So a massive thanks to DistroKid. I can't recommend them enough, as it's a company that I've been using. I get so many sponsorship requests for stuff I've never used, and I always say no. So this is the second one in the history of this channel, and I did it because DistroKid totally rocks. So if you do want to sign up, I'll leave a link in the description. It's also in the link of just about every other description on my channel, because I'm a big believer in what they're doing. It's good stuff. They take care of the artists. All right, let's get stuck into this particular podcast. We're going to start with a little bit of a discussion about the Fender Fuse software and how it's been discontinued from Fender. So if you own a Fender Mustang or even one of those Super Champ amplifiers that require, well, it doesn't really require the Fender Fuse software, but if it used the Fender Fuse software, you're unable to get that anymore from the Fender website. Now, I used to have a link that used to point to all of my custom presets. I made over 40 of them, and I didn't have a backup of them, but I figured they'd be there pretty much for a long, long time on the Fender website, but they actually pulled it all down without any warning, which kind of sucked, or at least I didn't see any warning. I got so many emails from people saying, hey, do you still have your patches? Because I've got one of these amps and I'd really love to get them, and now I can't download them directly from the Fender website. But the sad truth of it was I didn't have them anymore. After I uploaded them all, I figured they'd be safe there, and I didn't make a backup. So I put an email or a post up on my feed on YouTube asking for anyone, if they could, to email me not only the patches I made, but any patches you might have. And we've got some really great news. Due to the awesomeness of the guitar community, which is fantastic, I've got thousands of them categorized on my actual website. So it's a website backup archive of not only the presets, but the pretty much every community patch that was hosted there, which is insane. So thank you. All of my Mustang Monday patches as well, just as well as the Fender Fuse software. So you can download everything from that website now, which is great. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below. I encourage everyone who's got a Fender Mustang amplifier, anything that uses the Fuse software, to download it and make a backup. Feel free to rehost it somewhere. If you go to the website to download it, there's no sign up or anything. You just click download. That's it. I made it nice and simple. There's no catches to it. So just go do it, back it up somewhere else. If you do want to host the files somewhere online as well, go for it. Just don't copy my entire page. Maybe give it credit if you do get the files from my website. That would be awesome. You can backlink it there. But feel free to do whatever you want with the files. Just make sure that they're safe and that people who still have these amplifiers and still have, or don't even have the actual Fender Fuse software, can find it easily. So share the links with your friends, all that kind of stuff. So a link to that will be in the description below. So just a massive thank you to all the emails that came in. I posted that post on the feed pretty late at night, just saying, hey, if you have any patches, email me, man. Next 24 hours, my email was blowing up. And what the cool thing about these patches is I forgot how small the actual files were. So thousands of them can fit in like a meg or a couple of meg, which is fantastic. So thank you, everybody. I got so many emails. I don't even know who to start to thank first, but the amount of stuff that came in was astounding. So thank you so much. Now, last time I checked the Fender Fuse website, the patches that I made for Mustang Monday had over 400,000 views, and I checked that about a year ago. So I have no idea what it actually got up to by the end of it. It could have been way more than that. It could have, you know, not been that much more than that. I don't know. Now, I think since the GT amplifiers came out, a lot of people did upgrade like I did originally. Oh, I got the GT. And then you realize, man, the version 2s just sounded so much better and more complex in terms of their sound. They really nailed that. I think Fender are getting it right when it comes to the Tone Master amps. They're just a beautiful sounding amplifier. But yeah, the Fender Mustang version 2s are still some of the best amps I've just ever used personally. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the series, I'd basically try to mimic anything from Stevie Ray Vaughan's tones to, you know, Eric Clapton's tones to Sean Costello, B.B. King. I went through all of my favorite artists, as well as I took on many requests to do lots of different presets with different guitars, matching the tones from albums, or even matching another amplifier I had in the room. Some were so close that they were indistinguishable to someone playing them in the room that weren't looking at the amplifiers. We did an Eric Clapton Tremolux amplifier that Rick owned, and we had them back to back, and he turned around, he didn't know which amp was which was pretty concerning, being that one was an inexpensive modeling amplifier and one was like a top end sort of valve or tube combo. So yeah, it was a shock to know how great those amps were at the time and how they've kind of gone backwards in some ways tonally. Even though you can do more with the new ones, I kind of feel like they still don't capture the raw tone of an amp anywhere near as well as the old ones did. I feel like almost Fender have handicapped them on purpose, so people are kind of, you know, forced to either get a valve amp to spend more money, or they're forced to get a Tone Master, which totally rocks. So yeah, I just want to say thanks again to all the emails that came in. Check out the link in the description below. Just make a copy of it as soon as you can. I don't know if there's any issues with hosting other companies' software on my website. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. If I get an email saying take it down, I will. So make a backup as soon as you can. But yeah, I'm not making any money off it or anything like that. So you'll be able to just get it and download it and host it or keep it at home on a hard drive. So I encourage everybody to do that. If you own a Fender Mustang or anything that requires the Fender Fuse software, the new link will be in the description below. Go check it out. So if you listened to the last podcast, you know I had a trip coming up in May that was supposed to go to the US. I was doing a massive road trip from Florida all the way over to Texas, then up to Nashville, and sadly that got canceled. But one of the comments caught my attention, and it was something like, have you seen the Guitar Hotel in Florida? I was like, what does that even mean? What, a hotel that sells guitars, or what's going on? I thought it might have been a Guitar Search Saturday thing. I typed Guitar Hotel into Google, and I was shocked at what I saw. And I'm kind of wondering how I never saw this up until now. This isn't current news or anything like that. It's actually been around for a while. But the strange thing is, I'd never actually seen it come up in my feed anywhere. I've never seen it online anywhere. And when I finally actually Google searched Guitar Hotel and I saw it, I was like, this looks awesome. So I think if I actually get over and do this trip at some point, because some of it's in credit at the moment and some I won't be getting back, I think when this trip actually happens, I'm going to go visit this hotel, even if it's to see it from the outside, because you know what? It looks amazing. And one of the great things about it, not only does it look fantastic in the daytime, which obviously you've probably seen some photos of it right now, it looks even better in the nighttime. So this is located in Hollywood, Florida. That sounds so strange. Hollywood, California is what everyone's used to hearing, but Hollywood, Florida. And yeah, it looks absolutely spectacular from the aerial shots that are probably with a drone. It just looks like nothing else I've ever seen. If you're a huge fan of guitar, obviously you are. If you're watching this hotel looks spectacular. Now, I'd love to hear from anyone who's actually stayed there. Let me know what the inside of it is like, but the outside of it is beautiful. It looks like a glass Les Paul style electric guitar. And this is all part of that Hard Rock Cafe franchise, which is something I didn't know until I actually looked into it a little bit more as well. But I gotta tell you, man, I've never seen anything like this. If you live in Florida or if you've visited Hollywood, Florida and you've seen this in person, let me know what you think of it. Being that Florida is so flat, it looks like it stands out like a sore thumb. It looks like it just looks completely different to everything else in the scenery around it. It almost looks a little out of place from some of these photos, but I'll leave them on screen so you can check it out. Yeah, if I get over there next year at some point, if the trip happens then, I'll definitely go past this place and check it out, as I'll be pretty much covering everywhere from the Florida Keys all the way up and across the Panhandle. So if I can come across this hotel in Hollywood, Florida, I definitely will, and I'll visit it, because I think that might make for an interesting experience on video. So yeah, let me know if you've been there, or if you've stayed there, or if you've seen it. I know a big portion of the audience lives in the States, so yeah, we have nothing like that here that I'm aware of, so maybe I'll look into that as well. But yeah, very cool. So we got a guitar-shaped hard rock hotel in Hollywood, Florida. Up next, I wanted to have a quick chat about something I've been thinking about more recently, and this has sort of struck me the more we're in lockdown and the guitars that I'm playing more often than not, and why I think this is a really good way to sort of look and approach buying instruments. Now, some of my friends do this, and I don't do this always as well. I'm a little bit of an impulse guy when it comes to amps or guitars. I'm like, oh, that's the one, and I get it, and I realize, oh, you know what, that's not the one. And then a few months later, you end up buying the one that you probably keep long term. So this particular section, I'm going to talk a little bit about thinking long term when it comes to guitar gear. And you've got to kind of try to work out what it is you're looking for. And the best things you can do before buying anything is really determine what it is that you love about the certain guitars that you're keeping long term, as well as the guitars that you're just playing a lot more than others. I always look at it like this. If you own, say, 2 or 3 Stratocasters or 2 or 3 of any type of guitar, you generally pick one over the other 2. Or if you only have 2, of course, you might be playing one over the other one. So there's generally something about that guitar that really captures your attention, or it's a feel thing, or it's a neck shape thing, or it's a tone thing. So the way that I'm going to approach finding guitars now is try to find the guitars that will stand the test of time long term. Now, I'm not a guitar collector. I don't just keep them at home or put them under the bed or in the cupboard. I like to use my instruments, right? So anytime there's guitars sitting in cupboards, they generally get sold, and I have no problems doing that at all. So what I'm talking about now is I'm on the hunt for a Stratocaster. I've played so many different Strats over the years, and there's only really been 1 or 2 that have stood out as being like, man, I should have bought that at the time and I didn't. But it took that process to know that if I buy any other guitar, I'll still most likely want to buy this other guitar, which I'll mention in a sec, at some point in time, or if it pops up. So I'm not going to waste my money buying something that's a filler. I really feel like buying a filler guitar isn't always a good move. And I'm going to explain a little bit about this process. Just in the time I've been playing, you know, I've bought a Squier, an entry-level sort of one, which was actually is slightly above an entry-level one. It was the Gold Series Squier. I then bought a Fender Mexico-made one, and then ended up with an American-made one, and then ended up with many other guitars over the years. So you can see the stepping stones here right now. I get it. If you are a beginner, you might just want to buy, you know, a moderately priced one that makes sense. This is more aimed at people who have been playing a long time, and why I think most people are kind of blowing their money if they don't get the guitar that they want straight away. So if you have a guitar in mind that you're aspiring to get, save for it, as opposed to getting something that's not quite as good or that isn't the one that you truly want. Because what you'll end up doing, you'll say, for argument's sake, the guitar that you really want is worth $2,000, but you have a chance to buy one that's worth about $1,100. And the one that's $1,100 is good, but it's still not the one that you want. I would say don't buy the $1,100 guitar unless it's a financial thing, right? I get it. If you can't afford it, then that kind of makes sense. But I would be inclined to save that money or put it aside and get the one that you really want worth $2,000. Otherwise, you end up spending $3,100. So keep that in mind. And what I mean by that is you'll spend the money initially on the $1,100 guitar. You'll kind of go, oh, it's all right. And then you'll go get the one that you actually want. It's happened to me so many times. So what I'm going to do, I mean, look, you can resell stuff and get some of the money back, but you'll still be 50% out of pocket on the one that you purchased and then sold. So let's just put that in perspective as well. But the thing that I'm going to do with my next Stratocaster is buy the one that I keep for, long term. The one that I have no foreseeable future in wanting to sell. And that's going to be my plan moving forward. So any of the guitars I purchase coming up will be ones that I go, you know what, this is different to what I got, or it's the best for me personally, even if it's not the highest end guitar, but this really ticks all the boxes for me in terms of what I like in neck shape and tone and feel and weight and all that kind of stuff, that I can see myself holding on to it. And through experience, even as a left-handed guitar player, I've played so many guitars over the years, I've been fortunate enough to do that, that I know that the next Strat I buy is the one I'm going to keep. So you might be asking, well, what guitar is this? It's probably no surprise I have a couple of Telecasters. If you've been around my channel before, you've no doubt seen those butterscotch ones. The most recent one of those Telecasters I purchased was a 50s original series Telecaster from Fender. They also make a really killer Strat. It's a 50s original Stratocaster. It's in white and it looks fantastic, man. Not only does it look great, it's got the big U-shaped neck and it feels and plays and sounds like $1 million. And I've never found another guitar that I like more than this one. There's one that I like just as much. I played it in Jacksonville, Florida at a guitar center. It was a used custom shop guitar, had a big neck. It ticked all the boxes as well, but it was really expensive and I let it go. So for me personally, I have to justify price is obviously a consideration too, but I look at something that's still practical to use, something that plays well, something that I'll love and play, and that I really feel like it's not something that I'll want to replace. I'm going to buy guitars now that I know I'm going to use, and that might mean I only have one Stratocaster, which is fine. If I love it, why would I buy a second one that I'm not going to play as much? Now, there are some arguments that might be said that, I've got a second Strat with different pickups or noiseless pickups for certain gigs. That's totally fine too. I've done that with my Telecaster. I've got one with Joe Budd and Danny Gatton noiseless pickups and one with true single coil pickups. But I love the 50s original Stratocaster. I can't wait to get my hands on it. It probably won't be for a few months, but I guarantee you this, in 10 years, if I'm still doing the podcast, if I do get that guitar and it arrives and it does all the things I hope it will do and it plays well, you're going to see this on the channel for a long, long time. And being that the state of the world right now, it might be a while before it comes in, but I'm looking long term with instruments. I'd love to hear what you think about this. This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time now. Now, there's a lot of other factors that come into play, whether or not you're a live player, whether or not you're a home player, whether or not you're a collector. These are all different things. I'm a live player. I also obviously produced a YouTube video, so I want a Strat that I'm going to be happy and comfortable with. And that law of diminishing returns thing is still true. There might be better guitars than that Strat out there for some people, and that might be custom shop ones or whatever, but I haven't personally played one as a lefty that I like more than that original series Strat. So I have to weigh up where I'm at musically, what I can afford, and then also, is this going to do everything that I want, or does it tick more boxes than all the rest of the Strats out there, and can I see myself keeping it in 10 years from now? And the answer to all of those things is yes. So strangely enough, even as a guitarist, and this might seem foreign to a lot of people, I'm not really looking for any other guitars. I want to get a Strat that I love, and that original 50s one will definitely be the one that I keep long term. So let me know what you think of this. It'll be different for everybody and everybody's different situation. Some people just love owning lots of guitars. I don't mind owning a few guitars too, but I really feel like if I own more than one of something and it's exactly the same, like what's the point, right? So one great Strat, I got a couple of great Tallies, one with the noiseless pickups, which suits certain venues over others. So there's some considerations in there, but I'd love to hear what you think about that as well. So my only suggestion is, after buying lots of guitars and amplifiers, and this can work for amps and pedals, buy the one that you really want before you buy 3 along the way, because you will end up spending more money long term than just going for the one that you want. All right, over to something a little bit more lighthearted, but I've been thinking about this a lot, and I figure the first company to make this change for the better will win the race when it comes to functionality of digital modeling amplifiers. Now, a lot of them, like the Katana and the Mustangs and all that, you either need a phone app or you need to hook it up to the computer. My Boss Next Tone is the same thing. If you set up an overdrive parameter on the clean channel, for example, you can't adjust that just by using the amp. You need to hook it up to the computer, and it's a little bit of a nightmare. And they give you this. They give you, this is a Boss foot switch. This is a really robust and really well-made foot switch, but you cannot do anything with it other than turn things on and off. The biggest flaw with every single modeling amplifier or digital effects processor pedal is the fact their functionality generally sucks. And this is what's stopping me using my amplifier, my Boss Next Tone, out live a lot with just this foot switch, is the fact I can't adjust things on the fly. Guitar manufacturers, listen to this. Anyone who makes a modeling amplifier or anything like a Katana that has digital modeling effects built into it or digital effects, it needs to have a foot switch like this. This is the new Cerebus. This technically is an all-in-one effects pedal that has parameters you can adjust. I have no idea why guitar companies haven't thought of this. They keep giving us pedals like this to swap between channels and to add a boost and so forth. Or even on the Fender Mustangs where you can scroll through banks, which I never do, right? All I want in a digital modeling amplifier, and call me greedy, that's fine. I want a pedal like this, something I could purchase as an additional extra to this bland old button stomper over here. Something where I could set up my favorite overdrive, I could turn it on and off with just by using the foot switch, and then turn the gain control up and down for that particular effect. And the way I see this working is the fact that you might be limited to only 3 or 4 different effects, but they all have adjustable parameters. Now, depending on which effect you're using, whether it's a delay or an overdrive or a distortion, some might only need 3 buttons and some might need 4. So I would encourage all of the companies to put maybe 3 or 4 as a minimum on each of these banks, for example, and then assign them in the same order that the amplifier has got them arranged. So if you've got an overdrive and then a distortion and then a delay and a reverb, that's what this will do. You then have full flexibility of using a pedal on the floor or on the table if you're just jamming. How much better would it be if you're just a home player, instead of having to hook up your phone and going through all the options and all that kind of crap, or hook it to the computer, which is even worse, you could just have this on the desk and you could just turn buttons, turn controls, potentiometers to get different types of sounds out of the amplifier instantly, or different gain and tonal options. The biggest problem with this, I take this to a gig and I want more treble in my tube screamer, or if I want more gain or less gain, for example, I can't do it. There's no way of doing that just by using these type of pedals. That's why the first company, or modeling amp company, that comes out with a foot switch that's optional, that looks like the new Cerebus or something very similar to this, will win the race. This will make the functionality aspect that's clearly missing from a lot of these amplifiers perfect. It will make it so much better. I even criticized the Fender Mustang version 2s. As much as I love the sound of those, they didn't have the functionality that this has on the floor. Their foot switch was still pretty good, but it wasn't as good as something that has full, in-depth controls, and it's familiar. There's nothing easier than tangible controls you can just turn rather than menu diving. Menu diving sucks. So in my opinion, the first company that comes out with something that looks a lot like this as a foot switch or an optional foot switch, whether it's Boss/Roland or Fender or Marshall or whoever, will win the modeling amplifier race in terms of functionality. And then I wouldn't be surprised if every company did it. But make a pedal that looks like this as opposed to one that looks like this, and all of a sudden we have tangible functionality right on the floor or on the table, and you'll just enjoy playing so much more. How easy would it be just to go, oh, I need more gain, turn a control, done. So amplifier companies, think about it. This would be a huge upgrade. Let me know. Actually, you know what? I'll leave a poll up in the cards here. Let me know if you think this would be a huge upgrade over one of these guys, or at least an optional upgrade. So let me know. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to discuss on this particular podcast is something that I haven't seen anyone else really touch on, and that's the impact of the COVID-19 situation on working musicians. Now, a lot of YouTubers, they're not working musicians. They make videos and they play guitar, but they're not out there doing gigs. There are some exceptions to this. Obviously, there's some great gigging musicians who have since gone into YouTube, but most of the channels, they're not gigging musicians. So I actually lost a festival because of this. No big deal, right? Because I've got a bit of a backup plan. I don't rely on music financially. I'm not a full-time musician. I'm not a touring professional or anything like that. And if you are, this kind of situation is a huge eye-opener and a little bit of a panic situation for anyone who can't just, you know, go out and gig. And this would be the same even if you just broke your leg and you couldn't go out and play live. So you got to think about what's my backup solution. I was talking to Dr. Rick about this recently, and there's so many musos in Melbourne, musicians, musos, that's what we call them here, that will just go out and play live and they'll live gig to gig. It's pretty tough. And it's hard to save money when you're doing that, or 1 gig a week or even 2. And the cost of living in Australia, much like it is in other countries around the world like the US and Canada, it's also expensive in certain areas. So you need to have money continually coming in. So this situation sadly has given everybody a little bit more perspective about what else can I be doing, right? If you've got a full-time job and you're watching this and you're out of work right now, or a part-time job and you're out of work, there's definitely money to be made online. And that's not to say you just have to start doing YouTube like I have. There's a lot of things I do outside of YouTube that also help bring in a few bucks that are all online. Now, I'm going to touch on some of this in some detail, but I greatly encourage anyone who's out there to start a blog website, just a regular WordPress website. Start writing about things that you know of. And this can be anything. It can be music related stuff. It can be just about anything that you're really passionate about, because it really makes it easy. I have about 5 or 6 different websites, and they're all developing traffic every month. I took a website from 200 views a month to over 20,000 a month in 2 months. So it can be done. Now, you've just got to write about something that you really love. So the way that this works is you can then partner with any other company out there and get referrals. And these are called affiliate sales. So if you've got a link to, say, B&H Photo, if it's a camera review site or a technology website, you can then make a few bucks anytime something sells through your links. And you might be thinking, oh, how do I get traffic? There's a lot of things that go into this, right? But one of the things I can highly suggest now is 1 year from now, if you start a website and you put a good amount of effort into it and you write detailed articles on things that you know and love, it's easy. It is really easy. And every year I'm going to start building more and more of these websites for things I'm really passionate about, because it makes it less like work and it's more fun to discuss anything. Now, if you've ever been to my other website that I linked below as well, which was the Guitar Pedal Demos website, I do that exact same thing on the reviews there. I link out to other companies. If I make a sale, I get a commission. I don't personally sell the item. They're shipping it out and doing all of that, but my referral link is how I make a good portion of my money and income. And it's been a huge lifesaver. So that's one thing I've never really spoken about a whole lot on the channel, but I really feel like if you're a working musician now and you're out of work, start planning for the next time something like this happens, or the next time you're sick, or something like that. If you, like I said, you break your leg or something like that and you can't gig, you're not going to be making any money. Living month to month as a musician is one of the toughest things in the world. Even if you're doing corporate gigs and you've got a relatively good lifestyle, odds are that's going to be dried up for a while as well. So you really need to start thinking more long term. Now, maybe one of the easiest ways to make money online that doesn't require any sort of technical stuff is to start your own Fiverr account. This will allow you to do whatever it is you do well, whether it's playing guitar, vocals, bass, anything like that. You can make a really great living on Fiverr if you niche yourself in a particular type of style. Now, there are some musicians who are pros that are on there as well, but not everyone can afford the pros. And if you're already a working musician, you're technically a professional, at least a working professional, and there's always something that you can add to that service that other people won't be able to add. And that's individuality or a certain type of approach or playing style. People who are on Fiverr can make an absolute killing if you get good at it. So become really efficient with that process, and you can make some really great, you can make probably more money on Fiverr than you'll be able to just from gigging, unless of course you're getting really great paying gigs. But it's a way to fill in the blanks, so to speak, in terms of income. You might be asking, what about YouTube? YouTube is also great. You can promote t-shirts that you sell, you can promote your albums, you can do anything that you choose to do with it to help you with additional revenue streams. But the best things you can do is put out helpful content that generate what they call the evergreen content, which is stuff that's always helpful long term. If you start this now, in 12 months, you'll have something that's really well established, and it will bring opportunities to you that you wouldn't have had before. And then 12 months from then, you'll have more opportunities. You can either spread the web or continue to grow the channels that the one channel, or being your YouTube channel, or your other channels with your website. So you've got all of these things working for you, which I think is a really great thing if you're a musician. It's not going to take away from your musicality. It'll just be an additional source of income. Now, there's a whole way of doing this, and I'm going to recommend another YouTube channel for this if you're interested in writing blogs. Go to Income School. These guys are legitimate. They've spoken about YouTube in detail, which is something I know a lot about, and I knew they weren't lying. Through their free videos, and I'm not affiliated with them, I don't know them from a bar of soap, but I've been watching their videos about how to grow blog websites, like WordPress websites, and it works. The traffic has been off the tap. And it was something that I didn't think. I was like, why aren't my websites doing really well? Because they were crap. Now they're actually really good, and it's something that anyone can do. So if you're a musician and you're a little bit sort of stuck thinking, oh, what can I do? Or how can I benefit myself, you know, in 12 months from now, and I need more streams of income? There's plenty of opportunities online, whether it's YouTube with affiliate links, or whether it's YouTube in general with the AdSense earnings, which is pretty low still, but you know, it depends what niche you're in, or create a website and get hooked up with a really great affiliate program that will allow you to make income passively through that website by putting out good quality content. Now, I have to stress that the content on the website has to be good. If you write one paragraph as a review of something, for example, it'll never get found. You have to write a minimum amount of words. I would opt to go somewhere around 12 or 1300 words. It sounds like a lot, but once you get in the flow of it, it's quite easy. There's no tricks to ranking well. Everyone thinks, oh, I've got a small channel, it's not ranking well, or I got a small website, it's not ranking well. Rubbish. It's all about the quality of the content. I don't mean picture quality if it's on YouTube, I mean the quality of the content. The channels that have superseded me a lot faster were providing very good content. It's just that simple. My channel does well, or well enough, because it provides hopefully good content, whether it's reviews of gear, the podcast, or information, or anything like that. So I'm always trying to keep the quality of whatever I release up to a standard. I take the exact same approach with my other websites. If you want to go see my other website, it's geekynerdytechie.com. I also have a YouTube channel that's growing at 80 subscribers a day right now, which is insane. I can't believe it. It's just all of a sudden taken off because I was putting out good content. And that's not to sound conceited or boasting. It's just the actual fact of it. I try to meet my own standards with anything that I do. And then I also do that with my websites and try to keep the standard high. So that's my suggestion. Start looking into your options. Go check out Income School. It's something I've learned so much about. I binged watched maybe 50 hours of their videos and just soaked in all of the stuff. And while we have time, if you have time, have it on when you're sitting around. You don't even have to watch it. You can just listen to some of their stuff, and it works. It worked for me. It worked with my website. Like I said, you don't have to sign up with them. You can just watch their free videos, and you'll get so much valuable information out there. So if you're a muso and you're thinking about how else can I make money, you know, and physical album sales are obviously not doing very good, but if you have a good presence online, you may actually be able to sell your albums through that presence and give yourself at least a few more bucks coming in rather than zero, because as they say, something is better than nothing, and it's all building blocks over time. I hope this has been helpful. This is something that I know will appeal to probably a small section of the audience that are watching this, but I really feel like anyone who's interested in developing a second source of income can do this exact same thing, and there's plenty of gaps in different niches out there. There absolutely is. So get onto it now, because in 12 months you'll have something as opposed to having nothing else. It's definitely worth doing. Think about it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name's Shane. This has been the In the Blues Tone podcast. If you enjoyed the video on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate that. A massive thanks to all the Patreon subscribers who help support the show. I really appreciate your continued support. A massive thanks also to DistroKid, my first and only sponsor on the In the Blues Tone podcast. I appreciate it. This is the second time they've been a part of this channel, and it's a service that I actually use, so I can stand behind that. If you do want to sign up and get a discount on it as well, links will be in the description below. It's a great service. I've just launched a new album on there as well, and that should go live in the next few days. So I'll update the description once that goes live and put a link down there and you can check it out. But a great service. They take care of all the hard stuff that you don't want to do, or you don't even want to be concerned with, especially if you're doing covers of other people's music. They take care of that as well. It's a really great service, and that's why I'm recommending it. Been using it for about 5 years. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. You can listen on the audio-only version on inthebluespodcast.com and also on iTunes or any podcasting software. Catch you soon. See ya.